Alright guys, do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and especially if you enjoyed this video. So I read a little piece where the former heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman, said that Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder could be bigger than his fight versus Muhammad Ali. Right? That's what he says, and I personally believe it's already a bigger fight than Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman. First of all, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are both in their prime. Now, when Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman, Ali was considered past his prime. George Foreman was in his prime. George Foreman was unbeaten. Ali had already 2 losses in his record. Ali, at that point, was a pro for almost 15 years. A lot of people at that time were calling him over the hill. They thought he was shot. Yeah, people were saying Ali was shot. I saw the documentaries. People were saying Muhammad Ali was shot when he fought George Foreman. Guys like Harold Cosell would interview Ali and say, you know, you're not the guy you used to be. They were looking at that fight as a passing of the torch type of fight. A young, hungry lion in George Foreman versus a veteran in Muhammad Ali. So right there, that's a big difference between Deontay Wilder versus this guy on the screen, Anthony Joshua. Is Anthony Joshua's in his prime, Deontay Wilder's in his prime. Okay? Both of them are unbeaten. Okay? And also, both of them are big punchers. Muhammad Ali was never a big puncher. In that fight with Muhammad Ali and George Foreman was the big puncher. He was the young big puncher. Ali was the over the hill, and he wasn't a big puncher. He was never considered a big puncher. He was considered very fast. He was a combination puncher. He would knock out his opponents with accumulation of punishment, right? But he was never considered a big puncher. So that's the difference between Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman and Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Ali wasn't in his prime. Ali wasn't a big puncher. Ali already had several losses. He was the challenger. He was challenging for George Foreman's heavyweight championship belt. Whereas in this situation, both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are in their primes. Both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are monstrous punchers. Both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are unbeaten. Matter of fact, George Foreman versus Joe Frazier is more similar to Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder than George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali. Because when George Foreman fought Joe Frazier, both George Foreman and Joe Frazier were in their primes. Both of them were unbeaten. Both of them were considered monstrous punchers. Joe Frazier was considered a monstrous puncher in his prime. George Foreman was considered a monstrous puncher. So we could actually compare George Foreman versus Joe Frazier more to Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder when it comes to like comparing former heavyweight matchups. Because again, he's more, because again, George Foreman is more in his Joe Frazier and George Foreman, they were both unbeaten the way Joshua and Deontay Wilder is. And obviously when it comes to the money, that both of these guys were, I believe when Ali fought George Foreman, I believe they made a I believe at the time that was considered the biggest purse in heavyweight boxing. I think it was a $1 million purse, right? I believe Ali made $1 million, or it was either a $1 million purse and they both split it. So that means they both made like $500,000 a piece. Obviously, when it comes to Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, they're offering this man $100 million. Obviously, that was 40 plus years ago. The money is way more now than it was back then. So yeah, that's all I have to say, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'm out.